This will be the Grand Prix of the weekend. The Australian 250cc Grand Prix, and a field of riders that would do justice just about to a world championship. The man we look at there on bike number 6 is Bruce Woodley. 28 is Donnie Osborne, the rider expected to give this man a very hard time for the next 8 laps around the course. Jeff Sayle on bike number 10, of course, one of the hot contenders. Jeffrey McNaughton on bike number 4, this year switching from Yamaha to Honda. Michael Dowson, unfortunately, together with Richard Scott, won't be competing in the Australian 250cc Grand Prix due to varying commitments. There's Tony Hinton, the man closest to camera. 4 is McNaughton. Hinton, the winner of last year's 125cc Australian Grand Prix, as you may well recall. On 37 there was Hamish McNichol from Victoria. So the field just about ready. Honda versus Yamaha. Richard Scott, the lap record holder in this class at 2:23.55. And I would say, judging by their practice form and certainly their performance in the Australian 350cc Grand Prix, then Osborne and Sayle are going to give it a fair old shake as the national flag goes up. Riders tense up, the revs build, and the field roar away from the line. On their first of 8 laps, the man who came out very quickly was 37 McNichol. He's taken delivery of one of the new N models this year. Osborne on the outside of him on the Honda. Jeffrey Sayle bogged down a bit on the starting line and didn't get away too cleanly. One rider with his hand in the air signifying that he's got problems and drops out to the back of the field. Up towards the top of the mountain now for the first time. And this could be, as I've said before, one of the best races we've seen all year because these machines are so evenly matched. 94 towards the middle of the pack there is Dean Scown from South Australia, who rode very well last year. Full field comes through. Up towards the cutting. Who's going to lead at the top of the mountain for the first time around? As we look at them shooting through Castrol Curve, I think it might be Jeffrey Sayle on the Scholastic Hunter green and white machine. The speed that they get across the top of the mountain out of the 250s is really sensational. No, in fact, it was Sayle back in about 3rd. The leader is Donnie Osborne. Well, Osborne has come out like a rocket on the Honda. Dean Scown in 2nd. Jeffrey Sayle dropped back to 4th as he came down through the S's. Well, Sayle's going to have to get mobile because he was the one that was expected to do battle with Donnie Osborne. And just at present, that is not taking place. But there's still 7.5 laps to go as we look at Donnie Osborne, the 23-year-old from Geelong in Victoria, attempting his first full season on this all-new Grand Prix replica 250cc Honda provided by Vince Genova of Nova Honda in Melbourne. And they've really got this machine percolating. No problems really in their practice lead-up. A stunning performance in the Australian 250cc Grand Prix. And now look at Jeffrey Sayle as he dives underneath and goes to 2nd placing in the Scholastic Yamaha around the left-hander at Murray's. End of lap number 1, Osborne the leader. Laying on the tank as he comes up to Hell Corner. Mixed in there as well as Bill Sayers from Victoria on the Honda. Then Dean Scown in hot pursuit of Jeffrey Sayle. Jeff McNaughton some way back in the field, which is surprising considering the form that he's been showing in practice, although he did have some front brake problems with the Honda on Friday. Now, coming through GDX Bend, and it's Osborne on 28. Sayle now through to 2nd on bike number 10, so he's now finally broken clear of the traffic and sets off after the leader. 16 is Sayers, 4 is McNaughton, he's moved towards the head of the field. Dropping back a little bit there may have been Dean Scown on 37. To the cutting. Now, up around Castrol Curve, a very fast and brave part of the circuit, and it's still Osborne as he goes past the sand trap. Lays on the tank, has a glance over his shoulder, sits up, maximises the drag on his chest. As you crest that part of the circuit, you cannot see anything other than skyline, as the name suggests, and then the circuit dives away to the right. Through the S's, listen to the talky, grunty sound from the 250 Honda. A V-twin, a water-cooled machine, and based on the bike that was used in last year's World Championship by German rider Tony Mang. Jeff Sayle, winner of the Marlborough Series in New Zealand back in about 77 or 78. Competed in the World Championships. Look at this gap close back in, I think it was around about 79. He finished 10th in 1979 in the World 350 as he closes up ever so slowly to the back of Donnie Osborne. ninth in the World 250 Championships in 1982. One of the really genuinely experienced guys out there in the field, and is gradually clawing his way up. There's Greg Pretty on bike number 64. That machine is of particular interest because that was run here last year from memory, and Greg Pretty, of course, is a former champion here at Bathurst and has been out of action for, well, at least 2 or 3 seasons. So Greg Pretty also starting to get his way towards the head of the field, and my lap chart suggests that he was right down at the back of the field at the end of the first lap, so he must have got a pretty dreadful start. There goes McNaughton. Sayers has gone through. Here's Greg Pretty now. Tony Hinton behind him, then Dean Scown. So that's great news for South Australian enthusiasts to have Greg Pretty back at the mountain and performing so well. Just a shame that he got away so badly from the line. But look at this dice here. Osborne clinging grimly to a lead that has been ever diminishing. Jeffrey Sayle starting to work away at the back of the Honda. Now has the lead. He got through. Well, Jeff Sayle, the reigning Australian 250 champion, gets through and now starts to make amends for his performance in last year's Australian Grand Prix, where Richard Scott ultimately took the victory. Here comes Osborne once again. Remember, he's got the advantage of the slipstream from behind the leader, and the top speed of the Honda has been phenomenal all weekend as he comes under the JPS bridge towards Murray's Corner, where they absolutely pound the twin discs on the front of these bikes. Up the rise. Now the left-hander at Hell Corner. Past the sand trap. Donnie Osborne. Here's the gap back to third placing, and it's still Bill Sayers on 16th, so the Honda's figuring well. 4 is Jeff McNaughton, yet another Honda, and then last time we saw this gap back here was being led by Greg Pretty. Dean Scown is dropping back more and more all the time, and the man that has been moving up really well is Hamish McNichol on 37. Here's the battle for the lead. Bill Sayers also starting to close in a bit on the leaders now. McNaughton in turn closing up on them. And this is the absolute ripper battle in this field at the moment. There on 46, just at the head of the field, is Greg Scales from Queensland. Scales figured well in a couple of the rounds of the Australian Road Racing Championships in 1984. But Jeffrey Sayle, the man on the Dick Hunter Scholastic 250 Yamaha at the moment, comes down through the S's and looks like he might just be able to take the 1985 Australian 250 Grand Prix. There's the gap. Sayle, around about 2.5 seconds now, back to Donnie Osborne. He was due to ride this weekend in partnership with Glenn Middlemas on the earlier model TZ250J, or should I say L model that Jeffrey was campaigning last year. This gap has now started to widen just a little bit, and Donnie Osborne struggling to keep touch as we go to the closing stages of the 250 Grand Prix. Out of Hill Corner, along the mountain, and it looked as though it was going to be a little cool and potentially even rain today, but as you can see in the background now, there's some blue sky about, still some scattered cloud, and conditions just about ideal. And the news is coming through that Jeffrey Sayle, unofficially at this stage, has broken the lap record that was set by Richard Scott last year. The Scott time, 2:23.55, which is an average speed on a 250 of 155 kilometres an hour. The left-hander at the cutting. As they go out of there, they wind their way to Castrol Curve, which in turn leads to McPhillamy, past the Castrol Sand Trap, over the top now at Skyline. The crisp, clean sound of the 250s as they wind their way down through the Nissan S's. If Jeffrey Sayle can take this 250 Grand Prix, it'll be the third Castrol Grand Prix victory this weekend, having taken the 125 and the Australian Sidecar Grand Prix. Here's the gap back to McNaughton on bike number 4, backed by Bob Jane T-Marks, and it's been a strong performance from him this weekend as Jeff Sayle comes down the very long and daunting Conrod Straight once again. Over the last of the humps, you can see the flags flying, the wind crossing there at the moment from left to right. Murray's Corner, and Jeffrey Sayle on bike number 10 goes through and takes the checkered flag. Second will go to Donnie Osborne in a stunning performance on the new Honda, and Honda also taking third with Bill Sayers. Confirmation after 8 laps of the Australian 250 Grand Prix, Jeff Sayle, Donnie Osborne and Bill Sayers in a race time of 19 minutes and 9 seconds.